Kazakhstan has chosen the multi-vector integration. Its trends, collisions and prospects are coming up in the Single Market program.
Hello, my name is Pavel Koktashev and you're watching Single Market. The entrance of products onto foreign markets means that they meet the standards of competitiveness. Unfortunately, the member countries of the Eurasian Economic Union realize exports on their own terms. Although it would be much more efficient to do this in cooperation, coordinating their strategies and developing an optimal tactic. But it seems that the Eurasian Economic Union partners are nevertheless starting to work according to the principle easier together. Our correspondent in Armenia, Elina Kazarian, brings us all the details.
Вместе легче. Все подробности у нашего корреспондента в Армении Элины Казарян.
Foreign trade is one of the serious drivers of the economy, and the countries of the Eurasian Economic Union are ready to expand it within the Union as well as beyond. The export potential of the Eurasian Union became the main topic of the business forum in the Armenian resort of Tsakhkazor, and it was held with the participation of the representatives of the countries of the Integration Union. One of the business platforms gathered those responsible for the strategy and logistics of movement of export products that are produced on the territory of the Eurasian Economic Union. Members of cabinets of ministers of the Union 5, representatives of the Eurasian Economic Commission, the supranational regulatory body, business organizations that are invested in defending the interests of entrepreneurs, and the entrepreneurs themselves. In addition, the business circles of Georgia, Iran, India, and China took part in the forum. We, as a Eurasian supranational platform, created a working group which offers coordinated efforts of every national institution on the support of the export sector, complementing each other's work. For example, we have agreements on the provision of joint insurance of export loans. Another special feature of this business forum is that it was successful at creating an effective centrifugal forces. The logic of from the private to the public, which permitted the initial concept of the Eurasian Economic Union and Armenia cooperation, fit in quite organically into the target idea of expanding the borders of the export market by joining efforts. Because two key vectors were constantly intersecting at the forum: foreign trade within the Eurasian Economic Union and in Armenia. By the way, the Eurasian Economic Commission gave quite a high assessment to Armenia's export policy, having noted that on the foreign market, the share of high-technology products manufactured in this country in 2016 amounted to 12% of the export volume across the Eurasian Union. The presence of Armenia's high-tech export products is greater than of other countries. Therefore, you're demonstrating not just the quantity, but also the quality of the export potential. Overall, according to the results of last year, the country has demonstrated almost fantastic results. The rise in the exports of Armenia's products to the countries of the Eurasian Economic Union was 65%. At the same time, Armenia is ready to expand its market for the Union partners. In any case, there were quite a few companies at the forum that are interested in this. We would like to launch a joint production of our technical equipment on the territory of Armenia. This would give an opportunity to create workplaces, to use in Armenia the equipment that is produced on the country's territory. Armenia is exhibiting good results in its exports to the markets of third countries. Last year, the rise in the volume of exports destined abroad reached 13%. By developing export channels to third countries, the country is also following the global route Silk Road economic belt. The country's plans include expanding shipments to China and Vietnam, and it is ready to supply these markets with food and textile products. And by the end of 2017, Armenia intends to hold negotiations with China's representatives on the provision of preferential trade incentives. We are ready to offer the Armenian market high-quality products that enjoy demand. These are power, oil and dry transformers that enjoy great demand. At the same time, the problems that the partners of the Integration Union have must also receive attention. For example, according to the results of last year, there was a negative trade balance between Armenia and Kazakhstan. In 2016, mutual trade fell by 34%. The main reason for the decline? The worsened situation on the global market of raw materials, which is having a substantial impact on Kazakhstan's economy. However, according to the results of the first quarter of 2017, the volume of trade turnover between both countries started to gradually rise. In order to rely less on external circumstances, which are being exacerbated by the challenging transport logistic conditions, it is necessary to look for more stable and effective means of cooperation. This was one of the constructive conclusions reached by the business communities of Armenia and Kazakhstan. What is probably necessary is some kind of a special agreement between Armenia and Kazakhstan, so that the tariffs would be at least minimal, and consequently, despite the challenges with the transshipment of multimodal shipments, the prices of Armenia's and Kazakhstan's products should be minimal, in order for them to be competitive. A new window of opportunities for logistics and export may be seen in the project on the creation of a free economic zone in the Sunik province of Armenia, on the border with Iran. We believe that the countries of the Eurasian Economic Union can easily enter Iran's market through the free economic zone Sunik, and in turn, representatives of Iran can enter the markets of the Eurasian Economic Union. The key theme of the business forum was the striving of countries of the Integration Union towards close cooperation, which would allow to increase the common export potential by using the advantages of individual countries, and this has already happened. A good example of such cooperation could become the Armenian subsidiary company Rusala, the Rusal Armenal company, which manufactures aluminum foil. You know that we have a policy of preferential trade incentives with the European Union, and Armenia can export to the countries of the EU without paying customs tariffs, which means the products can be competitive. There should be more examples like this which demonstrate a new and higher level of partnership, because they serve as a bright demonstration of how it is possible to further position the process of the Eurasian Economic Union integration. There is no doubt that the voiced proposals and the business contacts that were established within the framework of the business forum will be realized in concrete projects, because there is something very important that happened here. Both sides, public institutions and business communities of the countries of the Eurasian Economic Union, heard each other. Hence, a dialogue took place. Elina Kazaryan, Tigran Galstyan, Gurgen Vardanyan, exclusively for Single Market from Armenia.
Специально для программы «Рынок без границ» из Армении.
Сегодня много говорят о трансформации экономики.
Today there is a lot of talk about the transformation of the economy. Entire sectors are undergoing this process in order to establish efficient productions. This process is permanent and even affects sectors and directions that are considered to be more traditional. For example, the sector of air transport. Interesting trends are being observed here, about which our correspondent Alexander Galiev will tell us now. Let's start with a trend which concerns the issue of optimizing the costs of air flights. We're talking about low-cost options. In just 17 years, the share of low-cost flight providers grew more than twice. According to the International Organization of Civic Aviation, they are responsible for 28% of all passenger flights, and their share is rising for understandable reasons. The proliferation of low-cost flights has led to a substantial transformation of the aircraft depot. Instead of two-floor giants from the 70s, there is now the time of inexpensive-to-use and cost-efficient single-aisle planes. According to the assessment of the biggest producers of airline operators Airbus and Boeing, the global demand for these planes in the upcoming 20 years can reach up to 24 to 28,000 units. The next trend, digitalization. Airports are gradually becoming platforms for experiments with artificial intelligence. A great share of current flight passengers desire greater integration of airport services with their mobile devices. A silent airport. The implementation of this work regime at the airport is the result of a previous trend. The presence of new channels of communication through mobile devices allows to stop the use of annoying advertisements over the PA speakers. By the way, the format of a silent airport has been introduced in Kazakhstan, at the International Airport of Astana, the capital of the country. And instead of a summary, Kazakhstan's airline operators are doing pretty well. Even during the peak of the crisis, in 2016, they managed to make a profit. According to the assessment of the portal finprom.kz, the revenues of the sector rose by 48 billion tenge and are getting closer to 200 billion tenge. At the same time, the number of transported passengers rose by 100,000 and amounted to more than 5 million people. Considering that from June to September of 2017, the International Exhibition Expo 2017 is being held in Astana, already today it can be expected that in terms of passenger air transport, this year will be even more successful, especially since new flights were launched with the inflow of tourists to the capital of Kazakhstan. That's all from me. My name is Alexander Galiyev. Until next time on Single Market. Consumer goods, first and foremost household items, are always in demand, and this concerns not only domestic production, but also exported goods. One of the illustrative examples is Kazakhstan's furniture market. The country has 665 registered enterprises which operate on the furniture market, but they satisfy only 30% of the consumer demand. The remaining 70% is satisfied by imports. Hence, Kazakhstan's sector is not keeping up with the demand, and producers from other countries are successfully occupying this niche. What is getting in the way of Kazakhstan getting a worthy position on the global furniture market? And from the experience of which countries can something be learned? Anarta Stanbekova continues the story. Just 3 years ago, Kazakhstan's revenues from furniture production reached $800 million. Today, they barely reach $350 million. Hence, they have fallen by 2.3 times. This begs the question, what happened to our furniture industry, and how did it get to the point of almost non-existence? To start, it would be logical to turn to the experience of other countries, because the main share of consumer demand for furniture in Kazakhstan is satisfied by imports. Belarus is the main supplier of furniture on the market of the Eurasian Economic Union. A large share is shipped to Russia and Kazakhstan. What's more, the geography of exports of furniture from Belarus encompasses 50 countries. Belarus is one of the leading producers of furniture in Europe. The quality is very good. That is why we produce not just competitive products. Our furniture is one of the best. According to specialists from Belarus working in the sector, one of the main reasons why the country was able to establish an export-oriented industry is the presence of their own base of resources. We have a great number of forests. Accordingly, valuable wood material is used for the production of furniture. This is a premium segment, and it enjoys demand not only in Belarus, but also abroad. By the way, in addition to the premium segment, production of furniture for the middle class is actively developing in Belarus. These products are made out of laminated chipboard wood and fine wood fraction, and they have an optimal balance of price and quality. The second factor behind the success of Belarusian furniture producers is the high concentration of domestic productions and a substantial number of large producers among them. And finally, the third factor which contributes to the promotion of the interests of Belarusian producers is the local government support. Our country invested around €2 billion into the modernization of wood processing plants, and now they were invested into a holding, which is under the management of the Development Bank. Unlike in Belarus and Kazakhstan, it is mostly small enterprises that are engaged in the furniture production sector. Their share is 90%. There are almost no large producers because this sector is considered to be risky due to the absence of a stable resource base. Experts of the Association of the Furniture and Wood Processing Enterprise of Kazakhstan believe that the problem of absence of resources needs to be resolved following the principle of sticking to the point of business. In other words, by establishing furniture production plants near the forested territories of the country.
Одним из предложений и рекомендаций, высказанных или пожеланий, даже не рекомендаций, а пожеланий ассоциации, это...
One of the proposals and recommendations of the association is to develop a roadmap for the furniture sector. This document will allow to revive these plants on the long-standing forest industry complex of the country.
На исконно, будем говорить, лесопромышленных комплексах страны.
The development of Kazakhstan's furniture industry is also being slowed down by the unfavorable situation on the market of state orders. Often they are taken on by firms that do not meet the status of domestic producer. These are basically false producers, quasi-producers, but not producers that are directly engaged in the production of furniture. These enterprises buy a certificate, bring in the furniture from abroad, from Russia, China and Belarus, and under the mark of domestic producer, execute state and subcontract orders. Kazakhstan's National Chamber of Entrepreneurs has taken note of all the comments and in turn informed the country's business community that the furniture sector, as a processing sector, is one of the country's priorities. The state's plans include the opening of specialized industrial zones in which a favorable business climate will be created for the sector's enterprises. The furniture industry can and should make a substantial contribution to the country's GDP, and the experience of Belarus, our Eurasian Economic Union partner, shows that with the implementation of a comprehensive approach and state support, this goal is completely achievable. Anarta Stambekova, Irlan Oralbekov, Anatoly Valuysky, and Bahidjan Bahreev, exclusively for Single Market. On the 12th of May of this year, tens of thousands of computers in 74 countries were attacked by an extortion virus. This also resulted in the paralysis of the work of large national companies. And immediately the entire world started to seriously talk about the need to increase cybersecurity. Oleg Boldarev found out what measures Kazakhstan is taking in this respect.
Ежегодно эксперты на Всемирном экономическом форуме в Давосе составляют рейтинг.
Every year, the experts of the World Economic Forum in Davos compile an NRI rating. This abbreviation stands for Networked Readiness Index, which shows the level of readiness of a state to protect their internet space. In 2016, Kazakhstan was ranked in 39th place out of 139 countries, 2 positions higher than Russia and 20 positions higher than China.
И на 20 Китай.
The Cyber Readiness Index entails 70 unique indicators in 7 main categories, which are united by one main theme, a country's strategy on defense of their interests from cybercrime. And this course of security, according to reputable experts, today is becoming especially relevant, including for Kazakhstan.
In
the recent times, Kazakhstan's companies are constantly finding themselves victims of targeted attacks, which use the most complex and at the same time accessible breaches within the ecosystem of the enterprise in order to gain access to digital assets. The digital assets include not just folders with files on the desktop, but also financial and intellectual resources of an entire state. It is needless to mention the value of these resources, because the life of an entire nation depends on them.
So right now, everything runs in information, and it's not just things like Google and Facebook, but it's so many of the things we do in our life. It's banking, it's transportation, and securing that is important. So information security really protects our modern infrastructure.
Considering the current trends, many countries of the world are developing their own doctrines of cybersecurity, and our country is working in this direction as well. At the moment, the members of parliament are considering a newly submitted concept, Cybersecurity of Kazakhstan, which will allow to introduce reasonable measures against cyber terrorism. And this is not just protection of something. This is a range of measures including legislative, scientific, organizational, educational, and so on. The cyber shield of Kazakhstan is only being established and still requires work. The project on cyber protection encompasses the entire strategic infrastructure of Kazakhstan, governmental bodies, the banking and legislative systems. However, this does not mean that until this project, the country has not implemented any measures. A number of telecommunications companies of Kazakhstan are responsible for the protection of the country's digital borders, including the State Technical Service of the Ministry of Information and Communication.
Мы видим те тенденции, как развиваются угрозы.
We are seeing trends of greater threats. We're seeing the protection mechanisms being implemented across the world. The challenges faced by those protecting themselves. We are trying to take this into account to see in which direction we should develop. We understand that aside from just reacting to an event that happened or revealed incidences, we need technologies that seek out threats. This is what we're working on at the moment.
Нам необходимы технологии поиска угроз. Над этим мы сейчас работаем.
The Cyber Shield project is called upon to find the weakest links in the cybersecurity, strengthen them, and create a reliable network defense. For this, a multi-branch system of data processing centers will be created, along with test sites, a reserve complex. And the most important, an information awareness campaign on the protection from hacker attacks will be organized. Experts compare the cyber shield of the country with a double-edged sword, which can be used not just for protective measures. This means that thanks to Kazakhstan's concept of cybersecurity, in the prospective future in Central Asia, the first cyber army may appear, which will protect the interests of the entire region. Oleg Boldarev, Anatoly Valuisky, exclusively for Single Market. That's all for today. My name is Pavel Koktashev. Kind reminder, all the episodes of our program are available on www.kazakh-tv.kz. Until next time on Single Market.